It was a dark and stormy night. Actually, no, I just wanted to start the story that way. My name is Joe Friday, no relation to Jack Webb from the old police story series, although I am a detective. One evening, I came home and my wife Megan told me that we had received an invitation to my college's reunion. They were going to have a Halloween party where everyone would be in costume. I was not happy about this news. Megan met a few of my friends from college. It was a part of my life that I didn't want to share with her. We met shortly after I graduated from college and entered the police academy. She worked as a cashier at a local grocery store, and I was amazed at how naive she was and seemed so innocent. She was so different from the college girls I had been with. I started going to her checkout every time I went into the store. She was so cute, and I loved teasing her. I made up stories, and she believed everything I said. Then I told her the truth, and she laughed and spanked me. I asked her out on a date, and she agreed to go with me. She said she would feel safe with a police officer. After a year of dating, I asked her to marry me. Before she said yes, she asked if I was joking, because it wasn't funny if I was joking. No, Megan, I'm not kidding. I love you and want to spend the rest of my life waking up next to you. She said yes, and we have been happily married ever since. We now have 2 children, Amy, who is 4 years old, and Joe Jr., who is 2 years old. We call him Joey. I need to explain a little about my school and college years. At school, I was an athlete and a very good one. There was no sport I couldn't play. I ended up getting a scholarship to play rugby at an Ivy League university. I would never have been able to afford to study there without a scholarship. I was very active when I was young. My moral compass was clearly not the best. My rugby teammates were almost as bad as me. One in particular, Dean, was even worse. Most of my teammates came from wealthy families. They all had nice cars and wads of money, which they often used to buy themselves out of trouble. I was considered quiet. Because I was one of the best players on the team, rich players became friends with me. Lack of money wasn't a problem because Dean always offered to pay for me. He said that my shyness attracted girls. There are 2 types of rugby. In rugby union, up to 15 players can play on the field at any one time, while rugby league allows 13 players. We were part of rugby league and were a tight group of lads. As I mentioned, most of us were just like me. We had a lot of girlfriends, girls who followed us almost everywhere. The funny thing is that these were really beautiful girls who just wanted to have fun while in college. When we had parties, dozens of girls came. Some of my teammates ended up marrying our wild groupies. Dean, our captain and self-proclaimed leader, married Anna, who was a beautiful girl. She did modeling during college and loved showing off her body. Most of my fellow rugby players graduated and went into different professions. Many went into family businesses. For me, I went to the police academy and did my best to leave my reckless past behind me. From time to time, I met with some of my old friends. It was a little difficult to look at some of their wives. I truly believe that many of them have also left their past behind. When I talked to some of the wives, they told me that they went to college to have a good time and find a rich husband. I guess they achieved their goal. A few times I met a couple when I was with Megan, and the guys made fun of her, saying that I was a shy guy who was liked by the ladies. I don't think she really understood, thinking they were all joking, just like me. I know a few guys said they wished she could join our parties during college. I know Megan was flattered. The last thing I will ever do is share Megan. She was the best thing that ever happened to me. Megan is really cute. She looks great and is friendly with everyone. She is only 5 feet tall and weighs just over 110 pounds. She looks much younger than her 30 years. She has natural blue eyes and blonde hair. She always looks truly happy and rarely argues. In addition, she is a great mother and just a wonderful person. We have a wonderful marriage and 2 wonderful children. We do things as a family all the time. As a police officer, I know what it's like in the world, and I will do anything to protect my family. Megan's mother looks after the children while Megan works part-time. I wish I had noticed the invitation to the party. I would tear it up and throw it away. These friends were not the ones I wanted my wife to be with. I hope many of them have changed. Since we rarely went out as a couple, Megan was really excited to go to this Halloween homecoming. Dean and Anna hosted the event at an old funeral home. They hired a DJ to play music from our times and ordered food. They were mostly appetizers, but they were all Halloween themed. They asked to bring their own alcohol since there was no bar. Dean arranged a meeting with about 6 couples to explain and get more ideas for the party. He explained the venue and the costumes and the whole celebration. I couldn't make it to the meeting, but Megan went without me. I wasn't happy about it, but she said it was nice to meet some of my old friends. The party was in a month, and Megan was full of anticipation. She started talking to Anna on the phone about costumes and other things. I didn't like hanging out with these people, but what could I do without telling her about my past? I just hoped Anna wouldn't say anything. After this party, we no longer needed to meet with them. One day, Megan came home and said her car had broken down again. She hasn't been reliable the last few months. She said she was tired of constantly fixing it and wanted another car. I explained to her that we didn't have enough money for a decent down payment to buy another car. She said Anna has a friend who owns a used car dealership and he has a used Nissan for sale. She had already looked at it and thought it would be perfect for her. Megan, we don't have money for another car right now. We can fix the old one and maybe buy a new one when I get my bonus at the end of the year. Joe, I only need $600 down with my old car, and I can pay $200 a month for 3 years. That's not the point. We don't have an extra $600 right now. The holidays are approaching and money is tight. As I already said, maybe after the new year, when I receive a bonus. Sorry, honey, we just don't have that money for a down payment. If I can find the money for a down payment, can I buy a car? This is really the car I want. I could see she was angry and wasn't going to stop talking about that car. She really wanted this car, so I said, okay, if you can find the money for the down payment, you can make the payments from your salary since mine is used to pay the rest of the bills. I honestly thought she would forget about the car for a while. She was quite sensible when it came to spending. She kissed me and thanked me half a dozen times. A few days later, she had a new car, at least new to her. She was very happy. I wondered where she got the money for the down payment. She said she asked for an advance at work and her boss gave it to her, and I had no reason not to believe her. I was starting to worry a little that Megan was being influenced by Anna. She said they talked on the phone about the party every few days. I didn't want Megan to get close to Dean or Anna. I didn't really trust them. One evening, Megan wanted to talk about our costumes for a party. I loved her very much, and if she wanted something, I tried to please her. She said that Anna lent her the nurse costume for the party and that it was a little short and quite tight, but she thought she would wear it with white shorts. She tried it on for me, and I have to say she looked damn sexy. Later, when we were having sex, I told her to keep her nurse costume on. I told her she'd better wear shorts under her suit or find another suit. She asked me what I was going to wear to the party, and I said I hadn't decided yet. I thought about going in my police uniform. I rarely wore it since I was a detective. She didn't like the idea, but it would be an easy suit. I told her that I had work on the day of the party and I might be a little late. The day before the party, I saw Anna at the market. I stopped by to buy some booze for the party before driving home, and it looked as good as ever. She asked me if I liked Megan's car, and I said it wasn't bad. She said she asked Dean to give her $600 for a down payment, and he gladly did so. I tried not to look surprised, but I knew I would have to ask Megan why she borrowed the money and then lied to me about where it came from. Anna asked if we could meet again. She said she knew Dean wouldn't mind since he had his eye on Megan. They were still in an open relationship even after they got married. No, that won't happen. I admit you were the best I've ever been with, but I'm married to Megan and I truly love her and will be faithful to her. Anna touched my groin, smiled and said that it was my loss and that she would see me at the party. It bothered me that Megan took money from Dean. It sounded like a gift, not a loan, and I knew he didn't give money to women without some benefit. For the first time since we got married, I began to worry whether my wife was unfaithful. I decided that I needed to talk to her when I got home, even if I had to tell her the truth about Dina and Anna. It was already dark when I returned home. Megan left me a note that her mother had the children and she went to show Anna her costume. I didn't think it was true because I just spoke to Anna and she didn't mention meeting Megan. I remembered that Anna told me that Dean was at the funeral home to finish preparing for the party. I drove to the funeral home and saw Megan's car in the parking lot. My worst fears were coming true. Megan was alone with Dean. I wasn't sure if I should rush in or wait and see what happens. I entered through the back entrance and walked up to the main hall where the party was to take place. Before I entered the room, I saw Megan in her nurse outfit, but she couldn't see me. I waited, wanting to see what would happen between Megan and Dean. "Where is Anna? I wanted to show her my suit," Megan asked. "She's not here. It's just you and me, honey. I asked Anna to call you." He laughed mockingly. "I need a favor for the money I gave you. Damn it, you look incredible in that tight outfit." "No, you said you wouldn't ask for anything." I changed my mind. I couldn't believe what I heard. My sweet wife did it for the car. I watched as she approached him. "Do you promise that this will be the last time?" Dean laughed. "Of course, I promise." I stood rooted to the spot. My sweet wife was going to let Dean have sex with her. Now I had to wonder if this was her only betrayal. I was literally stunned. My mind was racing. Run there and beat up Dean. What to do with Megan? She was not the innocent party in this. I decided to let it happen and deal with it later. She pushed him away while he laughed. I knew she liked sex, but I didn't like seeing her with another man. I watched as she walked out the front door, and then I walked into the room. "You'll never touch her again, Dean. You crossed the line with her. She is not only my wife, but also my life." He looked surprised to see me. "What the hell are you doing here? Look, you've entertained my wife a dozen times. What's the big problem? You voluntarily gave me your wife, and then you were not married. I can't let you get away with this." She agreed, and you know it. "You should have given her money for the car." He laughed again. "You'll never touch her again," I shouted at him as I walked out. While I was looking around, I found a video camera that was still working. He was recording a video, and he had another tape, dated a week earlier, called Megan. I took both cassettes and inserted the empty one into the camera. I took his suit too. It was a football uniform with pads and a helmet. The helmet was covered with a mask shaped like a dog's head, and it contained a small speaker that changed the wearer's voice. I could use this to my advantage. I closed the doors and put my things in my car. I called Megan and told her I was going home. She said that she stopped by to see her mother, and she and the children were already driving up to the house. She sounded calmer than I expected. When I arrived home half an hour later, she had put the children to bed and got rid of the note that said Anna had it. She was coming out of the shower when I walked in. "How was your day?" I asked her. "Pretty common. After work, I did a little shopping and stopped by to see my mom. Nothing special." She had a chance to tell me the truth. If she had told me without having to ask, we could have tried to make things right. Now I knew that I could never trust her again. "Megan, I have to work a little later tomorrow, so I'll be at the party a little later unless you want to go without me." "I promised your friends that we would be there. How late will you be?" "Probably for a couple of hours. Do you want me to pick you up from here or meet you at the party?" She thought for a minute and said that she would meet me at the party. I told her I was going to wear my police uniform and Joe Friday mask from Police Story. She didn't know who he was. She said she was tired and would see me the next day and went to bed. Honestly, I couldn't sleep with her that night. I decided to sleep in the study, which also served as my office. I put in the first tape, and it was a video of her thanking Dean for the money. I inserted the second cassette, and it started shortly before I arrived. She asked about Anna, and he said that she would come soon. So she really came to see Anna. He showed her to the party room and put his hand on her ass. This was what I saw. I skipped to the moment when she left and erased everything that could incriminate me. For now, I hid the tapes, wondering when and how they might be used. I didn't work that late and was at the party when it started at 8. I was wearing Dean's costume, and I was a little worried that people would realize I wasn't him. Anna said that I had finally arrived and went to meet her friends. Anna was dressed very openly, and she showed everything. About half of the guests were wearing masks, and I didn't know who they were. Others wore small masks over their eyes or had painted faces. I saw Megan drive up, and the doorman opened the door for her. She got out of the car showing a lot of legs. I wondered if she was wearing shorts. She didn't forget to bring our alcohol. She put a small white mask over her eyes. Only a few people would know who she is since she did not attend our college. She looked at me and went to Anna. They talked for a few minutes. Anna introduced her to several women and men and continued her duties as hostess. I walked up behind Megan and reached under her outfit, grabbing her ass. "Stop doing that. I told you I won't do it again. I love my husband." She did wear shorts under her nurse costume. "Where is your cuckold?" I asked, trying not to let my real voice come through. It was a real test. "He's working, but he'll be here soon. Please don't give me any trouble. What I did was a huge mistake. It wasn't worth the price I'm paying now. I'll tell you what. Dance with me and tell me about your past, and I will keep our sex a secret. Otherwise, the first person I'll talk to when Joe arrives will be me." She was hesitant, but still went with me to the dance floor. I held her close and asked her about her past. She started talking about school, but I stopped her. "I'm interested in your sexual past, how many men you've had." "Please, Joe doesn't even know this. What does it matter?" I pulled my hands towards her ass to make her feel uncomfortable. Okay, there were 2 guys before Joe. None of them made much of an impression on me. I was with them several times each. And then I met Joe. He was so different. It wasn't just sex. There was something more there. He treated me with respect and at the same time made me feel special. There is nothing he wouldn't do for me sexually, and I for him. You understand? Being with you was a mistake. I got caught up in the moment and what I learned about Joe's past. I was angry and upset that he never told me. I am so sorry. She broke away from my embrace and ran to the ladies' room. A woman came up to me and asked if I was Dean. She grabbed my groin and said I looked like Dean. I was sure it was Molly, Ted's wife. I told her she would find out at midnight. The party was going great. Alcohol was flowing freely. I tried to stay away from Anna. Only she and Megan knew what suit Dean was wearing. Just before 10, I walked out the back door and walked to my car. I changed into my police uniform and drove up to the front door. The doorman opened the door for me, calming down when I put on my Joe Friday mask. Anna met me at the door and hugged me. Megan must have told her that I would be dressed as a police officer. She grabbed my ass and said, "Still the best ass I've ever felt." I saw Megan, and she must have noticed how Anna grabbed my ass. What was it? She pretended to be angry, but after everything she had done, her heart wasn't in it. There are many things I never told you about. I have been with many of these women, including Anna. That's why I didn't want to come to this party. "Why didn't you tell me about your past sooner?" Megan asked. "It was not something I was proud of, and you were very special to me. I didn't want you to think that you were just one of many. Besides, you never told me about your past." I didn't know whether to hate her or love her. We danced, and eventually I took off that stupid mask. Most people knew who I was anyway. I introduced Megan to everyone I knew. She told me that Anna had already introduced her to many people. When I introduced her to a woman, she looked at me as if asking if I had sex with her. Almost every time I nodded my head. Several times I shook my head no. After the 3rd time, Megan asked why not. I laughed. I didn't know them at school. I met them after they married my friends. I would never have sex with a friend's wife. "Megan, I have had sex with many women, but not one since we started dating. I would never cheat on you. She said she needed to go to the ladies' room. Maybe she felt a little guilty. Anna came up to me and asked if I had seen Dean. She said he was wearing a football uniform with a dog's head on it. I laughed because it sounded funny. I told her I hadn't seen him, but he was probably entertaining some woman in the back room. Anna seemed to be looking for Megan. I had to wonder if she was part of Dean's plan to seduce and deceive Megan. Megan came back to where I was standing, and Anna asked her if she had seen Dean. Was he in a dog suit? Megan asked. Maybe an hour ago, but I've been with John ever since. For a Halloween party, it was a great party with lots of food and great costumes ranging from very gory to extremely sexy. The DJ played great tunes, and everyone seemed to be having fun. I wondered what would happen at midnight when the coffin was opened. I noticed that some of the participants' old habits returned. From time to time, the couple went into one of the back rooms. I think they were still cheating. Anna went there more than once. Strangely, Megan stayed close to me. She danced just with me and said she was having a wonderful time. She didn't talk much to Anna. I think she realized her huge mistake and tried to correct it. She didn't even mention Dean. Everyone asked Anna what surprise awaited them and why the coffin had to be opened at midnight. She said she didn't know. It had to be something Dean added at the last minute. At midnight, those who had not yet taken off their masks did so. There were no real surprises except that Dean wasn't there. Anna said it was probably time to open the coffin. She wasn't going to wait for Dean. Tim and Brad opened the coffin together. Everyone who could see what was inside started screaming. Some thought it was a joke until they saw what was inside. I told everyone to leave, saying that I was really a policeman. I dialed 911 and said who I was. Less than 5 minutes later, 6 police cars appeared in front of the entrance. One of my colleagues, Jim, came up to me and asked what happened. I explained to him what I knew after we opened the coffin. Jim told me he wanted me to help, but since I was at the party when the body was found, I would have to testify along with everyone else. I said I understand. Over the next 2 hours, everyone was interrogated and released. Jim told me that everyone had a similar story. They thought Dean was wearing a football suit, but they couldn't be sure. He said my wife Megan said she also thought he was wearing a football suit. I told him I didn't remember seeing him. Megan was really nervous and asked me how I could deal with things like this day after day, especially knowing it was my friend. I explained to her that this is my job, and over time you get used to it. The body was sent to the coroner's office, and an autopsy was performed. The cause of death was blood loss from a throat cut. According to police, it was an act of revenge and rage. They didn't know how right they were. They searched Dean and Anna's house and found numerous tapes recorded over the past few years. Most of them featured Anna or Dean having sex with different people. Sex seemed to be voluntary, and sometimes it was a group activity. The police decided that they would need to contact the people in these recordings and question them. They started with those who were at the party. Anna told police that she and Dean had an open marriage. She even admitted to having sex with 3 different men at the party. Those participants whose spouses were unaware of their extramarital affairs were scrutinized by the police, especially closely, as was Anna, since the spouse is always the first suspect. 2 weeks later, my friend Jim, who was leading the investigation, came to me and said that they needed to interview my wife again. I asked him why, and he said that Anna said that Megan borrowed $600 from Dean for a down payment on a car. Anna also said that he expected repayment in the form of sex, but she did not know if he achieved his goal. Megan told me that she borrowed money from Dean at Anna's request. I was angry about this because I knew what kind of person Dean was. I told Anna to tell him that we will return his money soon. In fact, I brought a check to the party to get the money back. I gave Jim the check and told him I didn't see Dean at the party to give him the check. I said he could give it to Anna. He said he still had to look into Anna's accusation, and I said I understood. As soon as I left his office, I called Megan and told her I knew she took money from Dean and told her everything I told Jim. 20 minutes later, Jim and another detective, Aaron, showed up at Megan's work. She later told me that she was surprised to see them and did not reveal that I had called her. She told them that Anna suggested she take money from Dean. She went to him and he flirted with her, but she told him that she was happily married to me. She told them that when she told me she took the money from Dean, I wasn't happy about it. She told them that I was going to return the money from our small savings. In fact, I took the check to give to him at the party. They asked her if he made advances to her, and she told them that he openly flirts with her, and she told him that she would never cheat on her husband. He could have kept his money, but in the end, he still lent it to her. I asked Megan if everything she told the police was true. I wanted to see if she would confess everything to me. She hesitated and apologized for lying about the loan. She said Dean said it was a gift and maybe they could meet sometime. She said that she gave him a categorical refusal. She tried to change the subject and asked again why I never told her about my ex-lovers. She was surprised when Anna told her how anxious I was when I was young. That was my past. I didn't tell you because I really didn't want you to know. One thing you should know, I never lied to you about my past, and I never cheated on you. Can you say the same? What is this supposed to mean? I love you more than anyone in the world. You are my life. I would never cheat on you. She got up and went to prepare dinner. I had a real problem with her lies. It was probably worse than cheating. I didn't know if I could ever trust her again. Now I need to maintain normal relationships. If we have problems in our marriage, we'll be scrutinized more closely for Dean's murder. Over the next month, we had sex, but it was just sex, not love. She never said a single negative word to me. Jim told me that the investigation had reached a dead end. There were a dozen spouses who had reasons to take revenge on Dean, but there was no evidence. I asked him about the time of death, and he said it was the night before the party. It could have been around 9 o'clock in the evening or late at night, around 3 in the morning. All suspects had alibis, and most were confirmed by their spouses. In such cases, people always have each other's backs. The investigation will continue, but they will have to wait for a breakthrough. He said Anna was the prime suspect, but didn't think she could have done it alone. Life went on, but for me it was no longer the same. I spent more time playing with the children. I even took them out when Megan was working. I distracted myself from thoughts about her betrayal, focusing on the investigations. I completely immersed myself in work. 6 months have passed since Dean's death, and things seem to be slowly returning to normal. Megan said Anna called her, but she said she didn't want anything to do with her. She was happily married and believed that Anna was trying to drag her into the case of her husband's death. I kept a close eye on Megan's movements when she visited relatives, and she almost always went out with the children and me. She had lost that carefree joy that I always remembered. Then I decided to try something different. I sent the tape of Megan and Dean's first recording to myself at our home address. I wrote, "For Joe's eyes only," on the envelope. Megan always brought the mail. When I got home that evening, Megan seemed a little out of sorts. "What happened, Megan?" I asked. "Just a bad day at work, and the kids were getting on my nerves. I didn't even cook dinner." "It's okay, I'll order pizza and pick it up with the kids." We picked up the pizza, and I looked at the mail Megan had left for me. There was no envelope marked, "For Joe's eyes only." I caught up on my email and watched some TV while Megan and the kids went to bed. I looked everywhere for the envelope and the tape. Finally, I looked into our incinerator. There I found the burnt remains of a disc and an envelope. Nobody could know what it was. Megan was still awake when I came into bed, and she turned to me. "Joe, I love you with all my heart and soul. I know things have been different since your friend died, but I want things to be the same. I know you said you've been with a lot of women, but I'll get through this. Right now, I need you. Please do me a favor and make love to me." I could not resist. I still loved this woman. I made tender love to her. I kissed her passionately, and she had tears in her eyes. Damn it, why did I love her so much? Did she keep her misdeeds a secret? Was she afraid that I would divorce her if I found out what happened with Dean? Our relationship seems to have improved. 9 months passed and Dean's death was still unsolved. We stopped hanging out with my old college friends. I knew it would be a mistake to include them in my life. One day, after Megan and I made love, I asked her who else she had been with. I mentioned that she heard about me from my old classmates. She hesitated and said, "What difference does it make? You are the one I love and the only one I want to be with." Joe, before I met you, I only had two boyfriends. They were my boyfriends, and after I was with you, I realized that they were bad lovers. They meant nothing to me. I want you to know that. I remembered her saying the same thing when she thought she was talking to Dean at the party. "Was there anyone else?" I asked. She looked at me but didn't answer. She started crying and went to the bathroom. After the shower, she returned to the bedroom and lay on her side, hoping that I was sleeping, but I was not. I heard her trying to cry quietly. I wanted to hug her, but my pride was too great. The next morning, I went into the office and pulled out a videotape of her and Dean having sex. I put it back in the envelope and wrote, "For Joe's eyes only." I mailed it, knowing she would receive it that same day, and went to work. I called and told her I would be home late and asked her to kiss the kids for me before putting them to bed. The last thing she said was, "I love you, Joe." When I got home, Megan was in the living room watching TV. She was crying, and when I looked at the screen, I saw that she was watching a tape of Dean having sex with her. "You knew all along, didn't you? You sent me the first tape, I can feel it. I so wanted to come to you and tell you the truth, but I was afraid that you would leave and I wouldn't be able to live without you, Joe. Why did you do this?" And then she came back a second time. She didn't even ask how I got these tapes. At first I was angry with you for not letting me buy a car. Now I know how childish my behavior was. I went to meet your ex-girlfriends and they all told me how good you are. I was so angry and embarrassed. Some things you've never done to me. I went to Dean and took his money. I let him treat me this way to get back at you. I wasn't thinking clearly, Joe. After I left, I regretted it, but I couldn't do anything about it. Why did you come back for a second time? I didn't come back. I received a call from Anna, and she asked me to come and look at the jewelry. The message even told me to put on my suit. She set me up, Joe. I left you a note, but I threw it away when I got home. I knew she was telling the truth about the note. I never told her I saw her. I actually went there. All I wanted was for it to end. I asked him not to tell you. It would ruin my marriage and my life. I let him. I even offered to return his money. I just wanted to get out. I don't know where or how you got these notes, but I didn't know they existed. All I can say is how sorry I am. She continued to cry. You should have told me the truth about where you got the money. He told me many years ago that when I got married, he would seduce my wife. I told him that would never happen. I think I was wrong. Joe, where did you get those tapes? The last one was recorded on the eve of the party. My friend Jim asked me to look around for anything suspicious while he and his colleagues were questioning people at the party. I found the tapes and put them in my pocket. The first one had your name on it, so I took both. When I watched them, it broke my heart. I love you more than I've ever loved anyone, and seeing you with Dean killed me. I don't know if I'll ever get over this. Why didn't you give the tapes to Jim? Could you get in trouble for hiding evidence? The last thing I want is for anyone to know about this, let alone for anyone to see it. Besides, it would make you more suspicious, and I know you couldn't kill someone. Joe, are you going to divorce me when this thing is over? I can't blame you, but I want you to know that I'm sorry and I really love you. Right now, I don't know what I'll do. The problem is that I still love you, but I don't know if I can ever trust you again. When this case is closed, I will think about what to do. 3 years passed, and the murder case was classified. They didn't get further than a week after the murder. We have no contact with my old college friends. Anna has joined some club and is so rich that she no longer needs to work, but she is still the police's prime suspect. Not a day goes by that Megan doesn't tell me she loves me. We haven't talked about divorce since our last conversation. After watching the video, she went outside and burned it. If she hadn't apologized so many times, or if I hadn't loved her so much, I know we would have gotten divorced and become another statistic. I can't say that sometimes I don't think about what she did, but then I pull her closer. She never refuses sex or lovemaking with me. I don't know who killed Dean. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click